snuggle with no chaser, and we're going to help you turn that frown upside down by talking about shameful regrets and terrible memories. So get ready for some fun. So I want to start out by saying that this topic is actually, it's pretty specific. Like, I'm not just talking about how to deal with a shame that really is not something that can just be fully explored in like a 15-minute video or anything like that. This is specifically about like just the sting of memories. I mean, this could go for anybody. I mean, I think it's a little bit more universal, but I mean, this is something that definitely people who are alcoholics or have been through addiction and all that stuff probably has a little bit more than the average person. So here's what I'm talking about. And this occurrence unfortunately happens to me a good amount. Just imagine, just try to go into my mind here real quick. Imagine that you got wasted the night before and you just wake up just like you don't even know what time it is. You're lucky you're in the same bed and you're just like, ugh, and you're just waking up and the recollections of the past night are not really coming to you. And then you look at your cell phone, and it's not broken, so there's a victory, but you see a bunch of text messages. And you're like, uh-oh. And then there's a funny thing, too, where I did this before, because I've been in this scenario many times, but I've done this before where a lot of phones, you can just, like, scroll kind of down the screen without even opening it, and you just get, like, a preview of the text messages. And there's some that were... it looks pretty bad. You'll see a bunch of people have texted you, and one just says your name in all caps. One just says, like, we really need to ... And they're from, friends or your significant other, and God forbid your coworker. And that just, if you're imagining that when you start seeing the text messages and you're just like, oh, that feeling, that like super cringe is a, phrase that's used a lot, but I mean, it's the best one, just that deep, like guttural cringe of like, oh God, what did I do? Or if you start like even remembering what you did, just like, ugh, just that feeling. That happens to me, just regardless of like how far along it's been since I've done some of the more shameful things, that it still hits me. Like I could be like at work and just laying in bed at night, just some stationary thing where I'm not like consciously trying to like reflect on my past, and it'll come and I'll just be like, oh God damn it, that was stupid. And it seems like kind of a minor silly thing, but like it can really change my mood at times where it's just like, you just really feel it. You feel it like obviously mentally and emotionally, but like physically too. And it's just like, oh God. And, at least in my case, in my experience, is that sometimes it doesn't even, it doesn't matter the amount of like consequence to it for like how much sting it has. Like there's been things that have been humiliating to me where in all reality, they didn't have much consequence to it. Like I made a fool of myself in front of like people at like a party. And like that, the consequence of that is not as much as like getting a DUI. But if I think back to the DUI, I'm just like, that was bad and that's awful. And, really putting people at risk and just a terrible thing to do. But it's kind of just like that in my mind. But like the humiliation thing. And that's the curse of it too. There's so many times you're blacked out and you don't remember things. But yet I can remember some of these shameful things with like crystalline focus. And I just think back to that and it's just like, ugh. God, why was I like that? And that's the thing, it truly is the shame because it, the big, like, differing factor, how people like to define guilt and shame is that guilt is, feeling bad or embarrassment for something you've done, and shame is feeling bad and embarrassment for who you are. And that shame is in those memories that come flooding back. That is what it is. It's not guilt. It's just shame. It's just like, oh my God, you're so stupid, or God, you were a piece of shit, or you're so just, I don't know why dumb comes alive. It's just so dumb. Why would you be that way? And I mean, you can be reminded of this stuff a lot. I sometimes look at like my Facebook memories where it's just like it pulls back, posts you made or like things you posted, and you're just like, oh God, I thought that was a funny post, or God, that was so stupid. And like that stuff is kind of just cringy, but you're like, all right. But like, there's really something when you've done things just intoxicated and just like it's strange. There's things where they've been humiliating. And again, they're not of much consequence, but it's just like what you did as a person. Like something, like let's say for example that I'm just making up right now and totally didn't happen to me, but like at a Christmas party with coworkers where you literally just threw up on the counter in front of everybody. Everything was going fine and you're just doing all right, and then you like, and it's just, people just look at you and kind of just like, what is fucking wrong with this guy? And you have to see them at work, and just that moment, this hypothetical moment, just sticks with me so incredibly like vividly. And again, I don't work at that place anymore. I don't talk to any of those people anymore. But that just will come just like a bullet, like right to my head. I'm like, God damn it, dude. And there's other things. I mean, won't get too further into it, but I know with certainly a lot of guys and women as well too, like there's some things in the sexual nature, the embarrassments or stuff like that. Like a lot of these things too, over the years I've acknowledged, they're mainly like ego stings. Like again, it's not like the consequences of like truly like amoral stuff. Sometimes they are, very much are, but sometimes it's just these things that just really deflate your ego, which is not totally bad at times, but I brought up this topic because like this is like things that have always stayed with me, and I don't like the power that it has to like affect my mood when it's just this random thing that is just like, I don't know, it's like a text message to your mind of something completely out of wherever, out of the ether, and it's just like, oh God, I can't. Oh, there goes a couple levels down in the self-worth I was feeling this day. And I mean, the big thing, talking with other people, discussing this type of stuff, how they deal with it. I mean, there's some things that are pretty generic where you go, okay, that makes sense. Like, you can think about like, that's not who you are anymore. Problem is sometimes it's like, well, I'm totally not that person. I still struggle with staying sober and stuff. So it's not completely like gone from me. And there's other things too. It's just like, just focus on like the good you did, or like focus, just tell yourself you weren't that person. And, for me, those things don't really always help, because it just, I don't know, the feeling is just so like visceral, and I'm not even thinking with my logical mind when some of these memories like flash back to me. It's just like being forced like Clockwork Orange to like watch this movie of me humiliating myself, and just, or like some of the lies I told, or some of the things where maybe I don't have like the memory of it, but I know I just embarrassed myself so horribly. Like a lot of times something at work is really embarrassing, because amongst your friends or people you have a different sort of a relationship where you can be a little bit more vulnerable to them, or you can, they're not just with you like as some sort of coworker, where that's more of like a thing where you've broken this line. It's just like much more shameful, because like, oh God, these people got to peek into my life and look how like upsetting it is. And the way I've started to deal with it, and one thing that's been helpful, and I will, I'll preface this by, people talk about mindfulness and meditation a lot. And a lot of people get turned off by that, because they're just like, oh God, I can't do meditation. My brain doesn't work that way. People are like, no, you gotta try it more. Like there's a struggle in getting good at it, and you gotta practice it like anything else, which are things that are true, and I believe, but I get it. Like there was plenty of times in my life where I'm just like, I can't do that. I can't practice that stuff. It's just like, it's almost painful to do. But I mean, saying that because I empathize with those thoughts. But it really is helpful. And this is one where mindfulness has really helped me, where it is not about like some sort of like reaffirming some things, like the affirmations you tell yourself to like make the bad thoughts go away. And like sometimes people do like a practice of like stop thought. Like immediately come to your mind, imagine like a stop sign or a red light, and just like push it away. Again, that stuff works for other people. For me, it does not work so much. So like the mindfulness comes in helpful for like two ways, where I have one of those thoughts. And like I talked about, the visceral nature of it, how much you feel it, trying to almost just step back and be like, okay, it's here. I feel like a piece of garbage person, but feel it. Where am I like feeling it now? I don't mean to get all like, whoa, hey, yoga man or whatever. Nothing's wrong with yoga, but, but like feel it. Where like for me, I totally, when I have these like humiliating memories that come back to me, I feel it like really in my gut. It's just like this turnover. It's almost somewhat similar to like the warmth that hits your gut when you like get those first couple of drinks in, but in a bad way. Almost like this sort of emotional indigestion. And you just, all right, just like focus. And I know it sounds weird. It's like focus on this discomfort, but like focus on that just in this physical way. In this way, it starts to detach from all the value judgments and all the things going up here. Because the stuff up here stings way more than anything else in my body, for the most part. Third degree burns are pretty bad. But just do it because what happens is, I won't say it completely like gamifies it, but it makes it into some sort of like practice or a more objective sort of thing, this more detached thing where it's like, now I'm just feeling sensations. And that's like almost enough to engage me to distract it. Another thing that's like big in mindfulness, but this is also big in like DBT or CBT or EBT cards. I'm joking, stupid. But like, all the BTs, like the cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, all that type of stuff, which is a proven helpful therapy thing. This is like a merger of that in mindfulness, where those awful thoughts that like come to me, that just the grotesque memories and everything. You look at it like a lot of other negative thoughts where they try to train you, is that you almost like objectify it in a way, and you just look at it in this way, and you're totally seeing it and you're watching it, and feelings are coming up, like the inner boo-boos are starting to sting a little bit, but you just watch it play out, like just like almost like a YouTube clip where there's a certain time frame to it and you're just watching it count down. Some people like objectify it in even like different sense, where it's like some people imagine, one I've always liked, I don't know why the imagery is nice, but you just imagine it like this thought and these feelings as like a leaf on a stream, and you just the way it flows, you're just like, all right, there is this horrible thing that I did, and it was so humiliating, but watching it and it's run its course, and okay, there. And I'm not saying it totally works like that, but like there's something too to be said where even having like ideas of things you're gonna do, things you're gonna practice when stuff like this comes through, and this is like even more wide ranging. This could be for like not even just shameful memories, but like feelings of shame or bad like self-judgments, things like that. Try to put these thoughts in a way where just even you have like some sort of like planned mechanism of like, I'm gonna do this thing, instead of just like letting them run amok, letting them just kind of like just observe them, look at them. Like some people use the imagery of like a balloon, and you just watch it and you let it go away. It's difficult, it'll take practice, or sometimes it's just like it's so overwhelming, it's like, no, I'm just thinking about this thing and it's just like hurting me. But to try to at least do something, whatever it be, whatever it's like mindfulness, whatever it's just like some sort of like therapeutic skill, I mean, whatever the thing is, just to have something where you're like, when I feel this or when this thing occurs, I'm going to do this. There's at least some sort of like security or comfort in like having an idea of something you're going to do because of the thought, the memory, whatever it is, the bad feeling, emotion, because I don't know, it feels good to be like, all right, I have a thing I'm going to do. I don't know if it's going to work, but there is a thing, instead of just like letting it be and just ping-ponging throughout your mind and just like totally ruining your afternoon and your day. And, I wanted to bring up this topic because like there's so many people I know that have felt the same thing. Like, oh God, yeah, I have these just like, these like horrible things that come to my mind. And they're maybe not like the biggest things, and they don't seem that important. But I'm just, I think about it, I'm like, man, it's something that makes you like physically shudder. Like, maybe attend to that. Maybe try something for that. Because, like I said, the sort of toxic, like, you do have to think of like those other upper level important things where it's just like, this is not who I am anymore. I am like, or I'm working to better myself, or this was in the past. Like one good idea of way to look at it too is just, or like, in a more, again, detached sort of objective way of just be like, okay, I did this thing, this awful, terrible thing. What am I going to do about this? All right, the thing is in my mind, I feel a certain way. Maybe I have an urge to do something, but realistically, what am I going to do about this? Now, this could break down into some cases of like, well, you make amendments, and like, there are some things that may be like this where there actually could be something to do, which may be helpful for it. You can get some sort of closure or cathartic release, or just, you can do something about it. But a lot of this stuff, throwing up at Christmas, the work office party, not a whole lot you can really do for it. And so I'll tell myself just like, okay, here's the thing. I feel like a shitbag. Does feeling like a shitbag help me in any way, especially at like 2 a.m. right now in my bed? Is there anything I'm going to do about this? Like, what are we doing about this? Nothing? Okay, then we're doing nothing. And try to just let it pass. I don't know. I know that was just like a whole shotgun blast of like ideas or things to possibly do. But throughout my travels and talks with other people about this very specific sort of thing that occurs to people, those have been like the most helpful. I've tried them myself, and yeah, the memories still come. And I've done a lot of stupid stuff to choose from. I got quite the playlist of David's greatest hits of humiliating himself. But I can do something about it now, which hopefully you can too. Hopefully you don't take those memories too personally. And you know what? Be well. Have a great day.